The ballroom glittered, 500 of Atlanta's elite watching as Marcus draped his arm around his new bride. He spotted me, 8 months pregnant, forced into this ridiculous waiter's jacket. A cruel smile spread across his face. "Look, Serena! Don't just stand there, serve my wife a drink," he boomed, laughing. The crowd tittered. He shoved a tray at me. I let it crash to the floor and ripped open the jacket. "I'm not serving anyone, Marcus. But I am serving you justice." I pulled out the folder. "But before you see what happens next, tell me where you're watching from and what time it is. Now, subscribe to the channel and let's get to the full story. I want a divorce, Serena. This isn't working anymore." Serena Thompson stared at her husband Marcus across their large dining table. The memory of those words still burned in her mind 8 months later as she sat at her small kitchen table in her East Atlanta apartment, counting the money in her wallet. $27, she whispered to herself, placing a protective hand over her pregnant belly. That has to last until next Friday. Serena was 32 years old and 7 months pregnant. Her apartment was small but clean, with second-hand furniture and bare walls. The only decoration was a small plant on the windowsill. A knock at the door interrupted her thoughts. "Mail delivery," called a voice. Serena opened the door to find her regular mail carrier holding several envelopes. "Thanks, Tim," she said, taking the stack. She sorted through bills and advertisements until she noticed a thick golden envelope at the bottom. Her hand started to shake when she saw the return address, Thompson Estates. Inside was a cream-colored invitation with gold lettering. "Marcus Thompson and Jessica Winters request your presence at their wedding celebration on Saturday the 5th of June at Roswell Manor." Jessica Winters. Serena had seen her on social media, a 26-year-old former model with perfect blonde hair. Marcus had moved on quickly. Serena sat down heavily on her couch, remembering the day everything changed. They had been married for 5 years. She'd been working on their household budget when she found strange transfers from their joint accounts. When she questioned Marcus about them, his face changed into something cold and hard. "I want a divorce, Serena. This isn't working anymore." Within weeks, he had moved her out of their beautiful home in the wealthy suburbs of Atlanta. Somehow, she had signed papers giving him almost everything. She was so upset and confused during that time that she barely remembered what she had agreed to. Now, here she was, pregnant with his child, living on what little she had saved from her job as an office assistant, a job she would soon have to leave because of the baby. Serena picked up her phone and dialed the RSVP number on the invitation. She expected a secretary or assistant to answer. "Hello?" It was Marcus himself. "Marcus, it's Serena. I'm calling about the wedding invitation." "Ah, yes, I was hoping to hear from you." His voice was smooth and confident as always. "I can't come. I think you know that." There was a pause. "Actually, Serena, I want you to be there. In fact, I insist." Serena frowned. "Why would you want your pregnant ex-wife at your wedding?" "I don't understand." "Let's just say it would mean a lot to me." His voice took on a tone she knew well. He wanted something. "In fact, I'm willing to pay you $5,000 just to attend." Serena nearly dropped the phone. $5,000. That would buy everything she needed for the baby with money left over for rent. "What's the catch, Marcus?" "No catch. Just show up, stay for the reception, be polite. The money is yours." Serena looked around her small apartment. Her baby supplies checklist sat on the counter, most items still not checked off. Her doctor had warned her about stress during pregnancy, and money worries were her biggest stress. "Fine. I'll be there." "Excellent," Marcus said, and she could hear the smile in his voice. "My assistant will contact you with details." After hanging up, Serena walked to her bedroom and opened her closet. She had exactly one dress that might still fit her pregnant body. It was simple and navy blue, nothing fancy, but it would have to do. She caught her reflection in the mirror, her curly brown hair pulled back, her eyes tired but determined. Something about Marcus's tone bothered her. He was planning something. But so was she. Serena went to her laptop and opened it, typing in a long password. A folder appeared labeled Thompson Evidence. Inside were documents, photos, and notes she had been collecting for months. She picked up her phone again and dialed a number she knew by heart now. David. It's Serena. I just received the wedding invitation from Marcus. And? Asked a man's voice. He's paying me $5,000 to attend. He wants me there badly enough to pay for it. That's suspicious, David said. What do you think he's planning? Nothing good, Serena replied, but it doesn't matter. It's happening exactly as we predicted. Are you sure you want to go through with this, in your condition? Serena placed her hand on her stomach again, feeling her baby kick. I've never been more sure of anything, she said. This isn't just about me anymore. My baby deserves a future without Marcus's shadow hanging over us, and all those people he's hurt deserve justice. Okay, David said. I'll contact the others. We'll be ready. After ending the call, Serena opened her evidence folder again. Inside were financial records showing impossible returns on investments, photos of abandoned construction projects that investors had paid millions for, and testimonies from contractors who were never paid. Marcus Thompson ruled as one of the Southeast's most successful real estate developers. His face appeared on billboards across 5 states. Thompson Estates was known for building luxury homes for the wealthy. But Serena knew the truth. Behind the perfect smile and expensive suits was a man who built his empire on lies. You thought you could throw me away like garbage, she whispered to a photo of Marcus from a business magazine. You thought I was weak and stupid. You're about to learn how wrong you were. Her phone buzzed with a text message from Marcus's assistant. Dress appropriately. Arrive at 4:30. Use the main entrance. Serena smiled slightly. For 8 months, she had played the role of the defeated ex-wife perfectly. Marcus believed she was broken and desperate, and she had been at first. But then she had started asking questions, connecting with others he had hurt and building a case. Now he had invited her right into the heart of his world, surrounded by all the powerful people who helped protect him. It was the perfect opportunity. Serena closed her laptop and went to make tea. She needed to rest and stay calm. The baby kicked again, stronger this time. Don't worry, she told her unborn child. Your mother is stronger than anyone knows. The dress she carefully selected for the wedding wouldn't be the only thing she had prepared for Marcus's special day. The morning of the wedding arrived with bright sunshine. Serena woke up early, her body tired, but her mind alert. She dressed carefully in her navy blue dress, the only formal one that still fit her pregnant body. Today's the day, she said to herself as she applied a small amount of makeup. The drive to Roswell Manor took 40 minutes from her East Atlanta apartment. The building came into view through tall iron gates, a massive stone structure with perfectly trimmed gardens and a long circular driveway where expensive cars were already parked. Serena took a deep breath and drove to the guest parking area. She checked her phone one last time to see a text from David. Everyone in position. Be careful. At the main entrance, 2 security guards in black suits checked guest lists. Name? Asked one guard, not looking up. Serena Thompson. The guard's head snapped up, his eyes traveling from her face to her pregnant belly. One moment, he said, speaking quietly into his radio. A minute later, a woman in a sleek black dress approached. Serena recognized her as Rachel, Marcus's personal assistant. Serena, Rachel said with a tight smile. So glad you could make it. Thank you for the invitation, Serena replied politely. Rachel looked around quickly, then lowered her voice. There's been a change of plans. Mr. Thompson has arranged special accommodations for you. She handed Serena a folded bundle of black fabric. What is this? Serena asked, although she already knew. Your uniform. Mr. Thompson said if you want that money, you'll be working tonight. Serena felt her face flush with heat. Working? Serving drinks? Clearing plates? The regular staff is short-handed? Rachel's smile didn't reach her eyes. The changing room is through that side door, You'll report to the kitchen staff immediately after. Serena stood frozen, the uniform clutched in her hands. This was the humiliation Marcus had planned, not just to attend his wedding, but to serve at it. Is there a problem? Rachel asked. I can call Mr. Thompson if you're declining his offer. $5,000. Serena thought of her empty bank account, the unpaid medical bills, the baby supplies she still needed to buy. No problem, Serena said. Where do I change? The staff changing room was small and smelled of cleaning products. Serena locked the door and leaned against it, fighting back tears. She had expected something like this, but the reality hit harder than she had prepared for. Her phone buzzed with a text from David. What's happening? She quickly replied, Server uniform. He wants me to work. The response came immediately. That's good. Easier for us to communicate. I'm in kitchen staff. Serena changed into the black pants and white button-up shirt. The pants barely closed over her pregnant belly, and the shirt pulled tight. She looked ridiculous. That was probably part of Marcus's plan, too. When she entered the kitchen, it was busy with staff preparing food and arranging drinks. David spotted her immediately. He was dressed in the same uniform, his usually neat hair messy, making him look different enough that no one would connect him to his normal appearance. You okay? He asked quietly as they both picked up trays. I'm fine, Serena said. Is everyone else ready? David nodded. The reporters are seated as guests. James is on the east side of the ballroom. I have the recording equipment ready. The head server, an older man named Frank, clapped his hands for attention. Ceremony's over. Reception starting. Champagne service first. Everyone take positions. Serena picked up a tray of champagne flutes and entered the ballroom from a side door. The room was stunning, flowers everywhere, crystal chandeliers, tables draped in white with gold accents. At least 500 people filled the space, all in expensive clothes, jewelry sparkling under the lights. She spotted Marcus immediately. He stood near the main entrance with Jessica beside him, greeting guests. Jessica looked beautiful in a white designer dress that probably cost more than Serena's car. Marcus wore a black tuxedo, his face wearing the confident smile that had convinced so many people to trust him with their money. Serena moved through the crowd offering champagne, keeping her head down. Many guests took drinks without even looking at her. Some did double takes when they noticed her pregnancy, but no one said anything. After 20 minutes, she needed to return to the kitchen for a new tray. As she turned, she almost bumped into a tall man. "Excuse me," she said automatically, then froze. It was Keith Dawson, Marcus's head of security. He stared at her, recognition crossing his face. Well, well. The ex-wife. Serena said nothing, trying to move past him. Marcus said he had something special planned for you, Keith said with a small laugh. Serving drinks at his wedding. That's cold. I'm just doing a job, Serena replied. Sure you are. Keith's eyes narrowed. Just remember, I'm watching you. Any trouble, and you'll be escorted out without your payment. In the kitchen, David handed her a fresh tray. You're doing great. Just another hour, and then we move to phase 2. Serena returned to the ballroom, her back aching from standing so long. As she served the guests near the main table, she heard the sharp sound of a knife tapping against glass. The room quieted as Marcus stood, looking out at the crowd with a wide smile. First, I want to thank everyone for coming to celebrate with Jessica and me, he said. It means the world to have all our friends here. People applauded politely. But I'd like to draw your attention to something special tonight. Marcus's eyes found Serena across the room. Everyone, look who's serving drinks tonight. Hundreds of heads turned toward Serena. Her hands began to shake, causing the champagne glasses to clink against each other. My ex-wife couldn't manage our household budget, and now she can't even manage on her own. Marcus's voice carried through the silent room. This is what happens when you try to take advantage of a Thompson. Some guests laughed uncomfortably. Others looked embarrassed. Jessica, beside Marcus, stared at her hands, her face flushed. Let's toast to consequences, Marcus continued, raising his glass, and to people learning their proper place. Serena stood frozen, the tray trembling in her hands. The heat of humiliation washed over her as hundreds of eyes stared. This was worse than she had imagined. Marcus wasn't just making her serve drinks. He was announcing her presence to everyone, turning her into a cautionary tale. Someone took the tray from her hands. It was David. "Take a break," he whispered. 5 minutes. Serena walked as steadily as she could to a service corridor hidden behind a decorative screen. Once out of sight, she leaned against the wall, taking deep breaths. David joined her a moment later. That was cruel, even for him. "He's not done," Serena said quietly. "He'll want to twist the knife again before the night is over." "Are you sure you want to continue?" David asked. "We could find another way." Serena shook her head. "No, this is exactly what we need. He's showing everyone who he really is. The more public his cruelty, the better for us." "The reporters got everything on video," David confirmed, "and James is making sure the projection system is ready for later." Serena straightened up and adjusted her too-tight uniform shirt. "I need to get back out there." "Be careful," David warned. "Keith Dawson is watching you closely." "Let him watch," Serena said. "He'll see exactly what Marcus expects. A humiliated ex-wife desperate for money. That's what they need to believe until the moment everything changes." She returned to the ballroom, head held as high as possible despite her humiliation. Marcus caught her eye across the room and raised his glass slightly, a smirk on his face. He thought he was showing Atlanta's elite who held the power. He had no idea that Serena's humiliation was merely the opening move in a game she'd been setting up for months. As Serena carried another tray of drinks through the crowded ballroom, she remembered the day 6 months ago when this plan first began to take shape. Back then, she wasn't just angry, she was ready to fight back. 6 months earlier, Serena sat in the corner booth of a small coffee shop in downtown Atlanta. She checked her watch, 2:30 in the afternoon. The door opened, and a woman with short red hair walked in, scanning the room. "Lisa?" Serena called softly. Lisa Parker nodded and slid into the booth across from her. "Thank you for meeting me," she said. "I wasn't sure you would." "Your message said it was important," Serena replied. "Something about Marcus?" Lisa looked around nervously before leaning forward. "I worked as Marcus's executive assistant for 3 years. He fired me last month. And I'm sorry to hear that." "Don't be. I refused to go on a business trip alone with him." Lisa's mouth tightened. "When I said no, he found reasons to criticize my work. 2 weeks later, I was gone." Serena wasn't surprised. During their marriage, she had suspected Marcus of being unfaithful, but he always had explanations for late nights and weekend trips. "Why tell me this?" Serena asked. "Because I saw things at Thompson Estates." Lisa lowered her voice further. "Things that didn't add up. Money moving between accounts that shouldn't be connected. Projects announced with big celebrations that never seemed to progress. And I think you might have seen things too." Serena thought about the strange bank transfers she had questioned just before Marcus asked for a divorce. "I might have," she admitted. "But what can we do about it?" "I know someone who can help," Lisa said. "A former FBI financial investigator named David Chen. He specializes in cases like this now." The next day, they met David at his small office near Peachtree Street. He was younger than Serena expected, maybe mid-30s with neat black hair and serious eyes behind simple glasses. "Ms. Thompson," he said, shaking her hand, "Lisa explained your situation." "I don't have much money," Serena said immediately. "If you're expensive—" "Let's talk about that later," David interrupted gently. "First, tell me about Marcus Thompson and what you observed during your marriage." For the next hour, Serena described the lifestyle changes over their 5 years together, how Marcus's business had grown rapidly, the increasing luxury of their home and vacations, and the paperwork she sometimes glimpsed in his home office. "He was always careful," Serena explained. But sometimes, late at night, he would spread papers across the dining table. Investment reports, property assessments, bank statements. Once I saw him moving numbers around on a spreadsheet, changing them before printing. David listened carefully, taking notes. Were there specific properties you remember hearing about repeatedly? Ones that seemed important, but you never actually visited? Serena thought for a moment. Yes, Lakeside Estates in Tennessee. He talked about it for 2 years, but whenever I suggested visiting, there was always a reason we couldn't. And did he have investors for these properties? People who gave him money? All the time. Dinner parties with wealthy people. Marcus would show them beautiful pictures and layouts. They would write checks before dessert was served. David put down his pen and looked at Serena directly. I believe your ex-husband is running what we call a Ponzi scheme, taking money from new investors to pay returns to earlier ones, while using much of it for himself. But he builds real houses, Serena protested. I've seen them. Show homes, David nodded, impressive models to convince people to invest. But are there actual neighborhoods full of these houses, completed communities? Serena realized she couldn't name one completed Thompson Estates community she had personally visited. There were always excuses: construction delays, permit issues, weather problems. Why are you interested in helping me? Serena asked. I already told you I don't have much money. David was quiet for a moment. My sister lost her life savings to a real estate developer in Miami 5 years ago. He promised exclusive beach properties, showed her beautiful models and plans. She invested everything she had saved for 20 years. What happened? The company declared bankruptcy. The developer moved to another state and started over with a new company name. My sister never recovered financially. David's face hardened. I've made it my mission to stop people like that. What do you need from me? Serena asked. Information, access to what you remember, and possibly help creating opportunities to gather evidence. David named a reduced fee that was still significant for Serena's limited budget. I'll find a way to pay, she promised. That evening, Serena sat in her apartment looking at her bank account. The divorce had left her with almost nothing. Marcus had convinced her to sign papers while she was emotionally devastated, not understanding what she was giving up. The next morning, she applied for a job at Small Town Realty, a legitimate real estate office across town from Marcus's headquarters. Her experience as the wife of a real estate developer helped her get hired as an assistant. Over the next few weeks, Serena met David regularly, bringing bits of information she remembered. The most important thing, David told her during one meeting in a quiet park, is to document everything. Dates, names, properties, dollar amounts. He taught her basic investigative techniques, how to take notes that would be useful later, how to photograph documents discreetly, how to ask questions that seemed innocent but revealed important information. Serena began using her work computer to research public records on Thompson Estates projects. She discovered building permits that were filed but never completed, tax records showing property transfers between multiple shell companies, and news articles about developments that were announced with big ceremonies but never materialized. Look at this, she told David one evening, showing him printouts. Lakeside Estates was announced 3 years ago. The newspaper shows Marcus at a groundbreaking ceremony with the mayor, but the county records show no building permits were ever completed. David nodded. And I found something else. The bank account where investors were told their money would be held in escrow. It transfers funds every month to a company called MT International in the Cayman Islands. Marcus's initials, Serena realized. Exactly. And that company bought a 70-foot yacht last year and a villa in Spain. By the 4th month of their investigation, they had solid evidence that Marcus was running a sophisticated fraud operation. He would build 1 or 2 beautiful model homes in each development, use them to sell dozens or hundreds of lots to investors, then delay construction indefinitely while using the money for his lavish lifestyle and to pay returns to earlier investors. This is a classic Ponzi scheme, David explained. It works as long as new money keeps coming in. When it stops, everything collapses. Serena placed a hand on her growing belly. My baby deserves better than a father who steals from people. Are you prepared for what comes next? David asked. Once we take this evidence to authorities, Marcus will know it came from you. He'll fight back. He has powerful friends and a lot of money. I understand, Serena said, but I also know that if he's not stopped, more people will lose everything they have. And my child will grow up in the shadow of a criminal. That night, Serena created a hidden storage space in her apartment, a loose vent cover in her bathroom where she stored flash drives containing their evidence. She knew the risks. Marcus had connections everywhere. She had already tried approaching a local police detective, only to have him suddenly lose interest after a phone call. The next day at work, Serena overheard her boss talking about a failed development called Riverside Heights. Construction manager got fired for safety violations, her boss was saying. Good guy, too. James Wilson. Worked with him years ago. Serena wrote down the name. That weekend, she found James Wilson at a construction site in North Atlanta. I'm not talking about Thompson, he said immediately when Serena mentioned Marcus's name. That man destroyed my reputation. I believe you, Serena said, and I'm gathering evidence against him. James stared at her. Why should I trust you? You're his wife. Ex-wife, Serena corrected, showing him her pregnant belly. And I'm fighting for my child's future. After more convincing, James agreed to help. He provided documents showing that Marcus had explicitly ordered him to use cheaper materials than what was in the approved plans and to skip required safety inspections. He fired me when there was a complaint, made me the scapegoat, James explained. No one would hire me for months after that. With James's evidence added to their growing file, Serena and David had proof that Marcus wasn't just running a financial fraud, he was potentially endangering people's lives with unsafe buildings. We're getting close, David told her, but we need to find the right way to expose him. Someone with his connections can make evidence disappear, investigations stall. We need a strategy that doesn't give him time to react. As her pregnancy advanced, Serena felt a growing urgency. She wanted this resolved before her baby arrived. Then the gold-trimmed wedding invitation arrived in her mailbox, and she knew they had found their opportunity. Marcus has given us the perfect setting, she told David. He'll be surrounded by all his powerful friends, investors, and business partners. If we expose him there, he won't be able to hide. Now, 6 months later, as Serena carried drinks through Marcus's wedding reception, she felt the weight of all their preparation. In her pocket was a small device David had given her. Under her uniform was a dress with special pockets containing evidence that would destroy Marcus Thompson's empire. Marcus raised his glass in her direction again, his smile mocking. He thought he was teaching her a lesson about power. He didn't realize she had learned that lesson very well. The evidence against Marcus grew stronger each day, but so did the challenges of bringing him to justice. 2 weeks after Serena and David began their investigation, they decided to approach the local police with their initial findings. I'm Detective Roberts, said a middle-aged man with graying hair as he welcomed them into a small interview room at the Atlanta Police Department. How can I help you today? Serena placed a folder on the table. I have evidence that Marcus Thompson is defrauding investors through his company, Thompson Estates. The detective raised his eyebrows. That's a serious accusation against a prominent businessman. These documents show money moving between accounts in ways that don't match what investors were told, David explained, opening the folder. Detective Roberts looked through the papers with interest for about 10 minutes. This certainly raises questions. Let me make a call to our financial crimes unit. He left the room. Through the window in the door, Serena saw him talking on his phone. his expression changing from professional interest to discomfort. When he returned, everything was different. "Mrs. Thompson," he said coolly, "I understand you're recently divorced from Mr. Thompson." "Is that correct?" "Yes, but... And you're expecting his child?" "I am, but that has nothing to do with..." The detective closed the folder and slid it back across the table. "The department has limited resources. We can't investigate every case where a former spouse has grievances, especially without clear evidence of criminal activity." "But the evidence is right there," David protested. "What I see are complex business transactions that would require significant department resources to investigate." Detective Roberts stood up. "If you find more concrete evidence, feel free to return." Outside the police station, Serena was quiet. "What just happened?" she finally asked. "Someone called him off," David said. "Let's find out who." The next day, David showed Serena a photo on his phone. It showed Detective Roberts and Marcus playing golf together, both smiling widely. "From the police department charity event 3 months ago," David explained. "Marcus donated $50,000 to their foundation last year." Serena tried contacting the Georgia Real Estate Commission next, filing a complaint about Thompson Estates' business practices. After 2 weeks of no response, she called to follow up. "We have no record of any complaint from you, Mrs. Thompson," the receptionist said politely. "I submitted it online and received a confirmation number," Serena insisted. "I'm sorry, but there's nothing in our system." After the third attempt to alert authorities failed similarly, Serena noticed something else. A black SUV parked across from her apartment building. It was there when she left for work in the morning and when she returned in the evening. One rainy Tuesday, she spotted the driver, a muscular man with a military-style haircut. She had seen him before at Marcus's office parties, one of his security team. "We're being watched," she told David during their meeting at a small restaurant far from her apartment. "There's a black SUV following me." "I noticed," David said quietly. "Keith Dawson's team. He runs security for Marcus, ex-military contractor with a reputation for thoroughness." "What do? We be careful." David handed her a new phone. "Use this from now on. It can't be easily tracked, and we need to change how we meet." For the next 3 weeks, Serena followed David's instructions. She took random bus routes home instead of driving directly. She conducted sensitive conversations in noisy, public places. She stored nothing important on her regular phone or laptop. Despite these precautions, she returned home one evening to find her apartment door slightly ajar. Her heart pounded as she pushed it open. Nothing seemed obviously disturbed at first glance. Her furniture was in place, her clothes still in the closet. But small things were wrong: a bookshelf slightly rearranged, cushions not exactly as she'd left them. Her laptop was missing from her desk drawer. She called David immediately. "Don't touch anything else," he instructed. "I'll be there in 20 minutes. David arrived with a small device that he used to scan her apartment. "2 listening devices," he said, showing her tiny black objects he'd found near her phone and bedroom lamp. "Professional grade." "My laptop? Taken to copy the hard drive, most likely. Good thing we never put anything important on it." That night, Serena stayed in a hotel. The next day, David taught her counter-surveillance techniques. "Always assume you're being watched and recorded," he explained as they walked through a busy shopping mall. "Never say anything sensitive in your apartment or car. If you need to check if you're being followed, don't look behind you, obviously. Use reflections in store windows." Serena learned quickly. She created false routines to throw off watchers. She used public computers at libraries to research Thompson Estates. She met David in crowded places where they could blend in. The stress of constant vigilance took its toll. At 7 months pregnant, Serena experienced sharp pains that sent her to the emergency room. "Your blood pressure is too high," her doctor warned during her next checkup. "The baby is healthy, but you need to reduce stress." "I'll try," Serena promised, knowing she couldn't stop now. Their investigation gained momentum when James Wilson introduced them to two former contractors who had worked on Thompson Estates projects. "Marcus never paid my company the final $40,000 for electrical work at Oakwood Heights," said Tom Fallon, owner of a small electrical company. "When I complained, his lawyer threatened to sue me for defective installation that never happened." Mike Reyes, a plumbing contractor, had a similar story. He finds reasons to withhold final payments. Many small companies can't afford to fight him in court, so they just absorb the loss. These testimonies added to their growing evidence, but Serena and David needed more: internal documents that would prove Marcus knew exactly what he was doing. The breakthrough came from an unexpected source. Lisa Parker called Serena one afternoon. "I kept copies of certain documents before I was fired," Lisa said, "including access codes to the company servers. They probably haven't changed them. Marcus is careless about IT security." With Lisa's codes, David was able to access Thompson Estates' internal systems remotely. For 3 nights, he downloaded files showing the full extent of the fraud. "It's worse than we thought," David told Serena after reviewing the documents. "He's falsifying environmental compliance reports. Some of these developments are built on contaminated land." The evidence was mounting, but so were the obstacles. Keith Dawson's surveillance became more obvious, almost as if Marcus wanted Serena to know she was being watched. One evening, as Serena was reviewing documents at home, there was a knock at her door. Through the peephole, she saw Keith Dawson himself. Her heart racing, she opened the door slightly, keeping the security chain in place. "Ms. Thompson," Keith said with a professional smile, "I hope I'm not disturbing you." "What do you want?" "Marcus asked me to check on your well-being, ensure you have everything you need for the baby." "I'm fine," Serena said coldly. "You can tell Marcus I don't need anything from him." Keith's smile never wavered. "May I come in?" "Just for a moment?" "No. Marcus would be disappointed to hear you're being uncooperative, especially after he's been so generous with the divorce settlement." Serena nearly laughed at the lie. "Generous? He left me with nothing. That's not how he tells it." Keith's eyes narrowed slightly. "He's concerned about your mental state. Says you've been making accusations, contacting his business associates. That kind of behavior might make a judge question your fitness as a mother." The threat was clear. "I have a doctor's appointment," Serena said. "I need to go." "Of course." Keith handed her a business card. "Call me if you need anything, day or night." After he left, Serena found David's signal blocking device and swept her apartment again. She found 3 new listening devices. "He's getting nervous," David said when she called from a public phone. "We must be getting close to something important." "Or someone tipped him off about our investigation," Serena replied. "Either way, we need to accelerate our timeline. And we need help, people Marcus can't easily silence." That night, Serena couldn't sleep. The baby kicked repeatedly, responding to her stress. She placed a hand on her belly. "I'm sorry, little one," she whispered. "I'm trying to make the world better for you." In the morning, she made a decision. It was time to bring in more allies, people with the power to share their story publicly, people Marcus couldn't control or threaten. She needed the press. Through Lisa's contacts, Serena arranged a meeting with Eleanor Watts, a veteran investigative reporter from the Atlanta Journal-Constitution who had written articles questioning real estate development practices in the city. "I have a story for you," Serena told Eleanor when they met, "about the biggest real estate fraud in Georgia's history." With Marcus's wedding 6 weeks away, the walls he had built around himself, the police connections, the legal threats, the surveillance, would soon be tested against the power of public exposure. Eleanor Watts studied Serena across the small conference table in a hotel room near downtown Atlanta. 2 other journalists sat beside her: Ben Martinez, a younger reporter with tech expertise, and Amelia Jackson, who specialized in financial investigations. "Why should we believe you?" Eleanor asked directly. "Marcus Thompson is one of the most powerful men in Georgia, and you're his pregnant ex-wife. People might say you have a personal vendetta." Serena nodded. "I understand your skepticism. That's why I brought these." She opened a large folder and spread documents across the table. Bank statements, property records, internal memos, evidence that Thompson Estates is a fraud operation. Ben picked up several pages of financial records. These show money moving between multiple shell companies. "And back to Marcus's personal accounts," Serena added. Amelia examined building permits and construction reports. These developments, Lakeside Estates, Pinewood Commons, Riverside Heights, they were all announced with big ceremonies. "But never completed," Serena finished. "Marcus builds one or two beautiful model homes, sells hundreds of lots to investors, then finds reasons to delay construction forever. Meanwhile, he uses new investor money to pay returns to earlier investors." Eleanor had remained silent, examining everything carefully. "This looks like a classic Ponzi scheme, but Thompson has powerful friends. The mayor attends his parties. The police chief plays golf with him. Why come to us?" "Because we tried the authorities," David explained, sitting beside Serena. "The police dismissed us. Regulatory complaints mysteriously disappeared. Marcus has people everywhere." "But he doesn't control the press," Eleanor said. "Not completely, anyway." "We've tried to investigate Thompson Estates before," Ben admitted, "but sources would suddenly stop talking. Records would become unavailable." "Because you didn't have someone from the inside," Serena said. "You didn't have me." Eleanor leaned forward. "If we publish this story, Thompson will sue the newspaper immediately. He'll deny everything. He'll paint you as a bitter ex-wife seeking revenge." "I know," Serena replied calmly. "That's why we need more. Internal documents proving he knew exactly what he was doing." "And how do you propose to get those?" Serena smiled. "We already have a way in." 2 days later, Serena met Lisa Parker in a small coffee shop far from Thompson Estates headquarters. "Are you sure about this?" Lisa asked nervously, sliding a piece of paper across the table. "If Marcus traces this back to me, my career is over." Serena took the paper with server access codes written on it. "He won't know." "And Lisa, this isn't just about bringing Marcus down. It's about helping all the people he's hurt, including you." Lisa nodded. "Use the codes between midnight and 4 in the morning. The system does maintenance backups then, so additional logins might not be noticed." That night, David worked from a temporary office he had rented under a different name. Using Lisa's codes, he accessed Thompson Estates servers. "I'm in," he told Serena over the phone. "But there are thousands of files. This could take hours." "Focus on the environmental reports first," Serena instructed. "Then financial transfers to the Cayman Islands accounts." "Got it. I'll call when I'm done." Serena paced her apartment, unable to sleep. At 3:30 in the morning, David called back. "It's worse than we thought," he said, his voice tense. "Marcus has been falsifying environmental tests for all his major developments. Soil samples, water quality assessments, all fake. Some of these properties are built on land with dangerous contamination levels." "Can you download the files?" "Already done. And Serena, I found something else. Internal emails where Marcus explicitly instructs his team to hide information from investors. He knew exactly what he was doing." The next day, they met at David's office. The walls were covered with evidence, photos of unfinished developments, timelines of money movements, and printouts of damning emails. Eleanor and her team joined them, examining everything carefully. "This is incredible," Amelia said, reading an email where Marcus instructed staff to show the model homes only and avoid questions about construction timelines. "And criminal," Ben added, reviewing financial records. "He's stolen millions of dollars." Eleanor remained focused on practical concerns. "We have enough for a story, but Thompson will fight back hard. His lawyers will tie us up in court for years." "That's why we need more than just a newspaper article," Serena explained. We need a public revelation so big that even Marcus can't make it disappear. As they discussed strategy, Serena's phone rang. The screen showed an unfamiliar number. "Hello? Is this Serena Thompson?" asked a female voice. "Yes. Who's this?" "Jessica Winters, Marcus's fiancée." Serena's eyes widened. She put the phone on speaker so David could hear. "What can I do for you, Jessica?" "I need to talk to you. In person. It's important." "About what?" "Not over the phone. Please, can I come to your apartment?" After a moment's hesitation, Serena agreed. An hour later, Jessica Winters sat nervously on Serena's couch. In person, she looked younger than her 26 years, her perfect blonde hair and designer clothes contrasting with Serena's simple apartment. "Thank you for seeing me," Jessica said. "Marcus doesn't know I'm here." "Why are you here?" Serena asked directly. Jessica twisted her large diamond engagement ring. "I found something in Marcus's home office. Financial papers. When I asked him about them, he got angry. Really angry." She paused. Was he ever violent with you?" Serena shook her head. "No, controlling, manipulative, but never physical." "He threw a glass at the wall," Jessica continued. "Then he was suddenly calm again, explaining that I didn't understand business matters and shouldn't worry about it." She looked up at Serena. "But I have a business degree. I understand enough to know something isn't right." "Why come to me?" "Because you were married to him. Because I heard rumors that you questioned his business practices before the divorce." Jessica leaned forward. "I signed a prenuptial agreement with severe penalties if I break the engagement. I'd lose everything, but I'm scared about what I'm getting into." Serena studied Jessica carefully, considering how much to reveal. This unexpected meeting could be valuable, or it could be a trap set by Marcus. "What exactly did you see in his office?" Serena asked. "Bank statements for accounts I never knew existed, in other countries, and a list of properties with 2 columns, advertised and actual status. Many listed as advertised complete, but actual minimal development." This matched exactly what they had discovered. Jessica was telling the truth. "Jessica, I can't tell you what to do about your engagement," Serena said carefully. "But I would suggest postponing the wedding until you know more about Marcus's business." "I can't," Jessica said, her voice shaking. "Everything's arranged. Hundreds of guests are coming. My family has spent so much money already." She stood up to leave. "I shouldn't have come. Please don't tell Marcus I was here." After Jessica left, David emerged from the bedroom where he had been listening. "Do you believe her?" he asked. "Yes," Serena replied, "and she might be useful to us. Or she might warn Marcus about your suspicions. I didn't reveal anything he doesn't already suspect." Serena placed a hand on her belly as the baby kicked. "But this confirms we're on the right track." Over the next week, the team developed their strategy. They created multiple evidence packages for different authorities: the FBI, the Securities and Exchange Commission, the Georgia Bureau of Investigation. Eleanor prepared a detailed exposé for the newspaper, ready to publish at the right moment. "The key is timing," David explained during their final planning meeting. "If we just publish the story, Marcus will deny everything, sue for defamation, and use his connections to bury it." "We need a public revelation," Eleanor agreed, "something he can't control. And we need official action immediately afterward," Serena added, "before he can destroy evidence or flee." They were discussing possible scenarios when Serena's phone chimed with a text message. It was from her mail carrier. "Gold envelope came for you today. Looks fancy." That evening, when Serena retrieved the gold-trimmed wedding invitation from her mailbox, she knew immediately it was the opportunity they had been waiting for. "Marcus has just handed us the perfect stage," she told the team after calling an emergency meeting. "His wedding will have everyone who matters in Atlanta there, business leaders, politicians, investors, even judges who might eventually hear his case. And he's invited you," David said, reading the invitation. "Why would he do that?" Because he wants to humiliate me, Serena replied. He doesn't know that I've been gathering evidence. He thinks I'm just his desperate, pregnant ex-wife. Eleanor nodded slowly. The wedding gives us everything we need. A public setting with important witnesses, Marcus unable to escape, and maximum impact when his crimes are revealed in front of everyone who trusts him. We'll need to coordinate perfectly, Ben pointed out. The evidence, the authorities, the timing, and we'll get only one chance, Amelia added. Serena looked at the invitation again, running her finger over the embossed gold lettering. For months, Marcus had underestimated her, seeing only what he expected to see, a woman he had discarded, struggling to survive. His arrogance had made him careless, and now it would be his downfall. It's perfect, she said quietly. The wedding is exactly 5 weeks from now. Let's make sure it's a day Marcus Thompson never forgets. With just 5 weeks until the wedding, Serena and her team began preparing their most important mission. David's office became their headquarters, with evidence boards covering every wall. The wedding gives us the perfect setting, David explained as they gathered around a table with a floor plan of Roswell Manor. But we need to coordinate with authorities to make sure Marcus can't escape consequences. David arranged a meeting with FBI agent Rachel Torres, a serious woman with short dark hair and a no-nonsense attitude. They met at a quiet restaurant outside Atlanta. "I've reviewed the evidence you sent," Agent Torres said, keeping her voice low. "It's compelling. Money laundering, wire fraud, investor fraud. The environmental violations alone could put Thompson away for years." "Then you'll arrest him?" Serena asked. Torres shook her head. "It's not that simple. Thompson has connections in Washington. Any investigation would be scrutinized heavily, and his lawyers would fight every step." "So you're saying you can't help?" David's disappointment was clear. "I'm saying we need something undeniable. A situation where Thompson can't destroy evidence or use his connections to shut down the investigation." Torres looked directly at Serena. "We need him caught in the act with multiple witnesses." "The wedding," Serena said. "Hundreds of people will be there, including judges, politicians, business leaders." "Exactly," Torres nodded. "If you can create a public revelation with irrefutable evidence, I can have agents ready to move. But until that moment, my hands are tied." "Will you position agents near Roswell Manor during the wedding?" David asked. "I can arrange that, but they'll only act with my direct order, which I can only give when there's clear public evidence of crimes." After Agent Torres left, Serena turned to David. "So it all depends on our plan working perfectly." "Yes, and we need to prepare for every possibility." Eleanor Watts used her newspaper connections to secure invitations for her team. "I told the wedding planner we're doing a special feature on elite Atlanta weddings," she explained. 3 press passes for the ceremony and reception. James Wilson, the construction manager who had been scapegoated by Marcus, had his own role to play. "I got jobs for myself and 2 friends as waitstaff," he told Serena. "The catering company was desperate for extra hands. They didn't check backgrounds very carefully. The most crucial technical element was access to the venue's projection system. The wedding planner had arranged for screens around the ballroom to show a romantic slideshow of Marcus and Jessica. Ben Martinez, the tech-savvy reporter, met with the venue's AV technician in a bar downtown. $200 changed hands. "He'll give me 10 minutes alone with the system before the reception," Ben reported. "I can install our override program then. Once activated, it will display our evidence instead of their slideshow." Serena spent hours preparing what she would say when the moment came. She practiced in front of her bathroom mirror, trying different approaches. "Too angry," David commented after watching one version. "You need to be calm, clear, and factual. Let the evidence speak for itself." "I know," Serena sighed, sitting down heavily. At 8 months pregnant, she tired easily now. It's hard not to get emotional after everything he's done. That's what he'll expect, an emotional outburst he can dismiss. You need to surprise him with your composure. As the wedding date approached, Serena's doctor became concerned about her health. Your blood pressure is too high, Dr. Peterson warned during her checkup. And the baby is measuring large. You need to rest more. I will after next weekend, Serena promised. What's happening next weekend? Just an important event I need to attend. The doctor frowned. Nothing is more important than your health and your baby's health right now. Promise me you'll take it easy. Serena nodded, knowing she couldn't explain the truth. 4 days before the wedding, Marcus called Serena directly. Just checking that you'll be at the wedding, he said, his voice smooth and confident. Yes, I'll be there. Serena kept her voice neutral, giving nothing away. Good. My assistant will email you specific instructions. This is a high-class event, Serena. Try to dress appropriately. Serena bit her tongue, resisting the urge to respond angrily. I'll do my best. I'm sure you will. His tone was condescending. Oh, and don't bring a +1. The invitation was for you alone. After hanging up, Serena took several deep breaths to calm herself. This was exactly why their plan needed to work. Marcus's absolute certainty that he controlled everything and everyone around him. The next morning, an email arrived from Marcus's assistant with detailed instructions. Serena was to arrive through the main entrance at 4:30, wear formal attire, and follow staff directions upon arrival. He doesn't mention anything about serving drinks, David noted as they reviewed the email. He's saving that surprise for when you arrive. That works in our favor, Serena said. The server uniform will let me move freely through the reception without drawing attention. That afternoon, David received a text from his FBI contact, package delivered to JW. This confirmed that their anonymous tip about Marcus's affairs had been sent to Jessica Winters. Do you think she'll confront him? Serena asked. Probably not before the wedding, David replied. But it plants another seed of doubt. The more unstable Marcus is, the more likely he'll react badly when exposed. 2 days before the wedding, the team conducted final equipment checks. The recording devices were tested, the projection override system was verified, and communication earpieces were synchronized. Once the reception begins, we'll communicate through these, David explained, showing Serena a nearly invisible earpiece. Your hair will hide it completely. They reviewed contingency plans for various scenarios. What if Marcus recognized David or James? What if the projection system failed? What if security tried to remove Serena before she could present the evidence? Remember, David told everyone, if something goes wrong, focus on getting the evidence to Agent Torres. As long as that happens, Marcus can't escape justice. The night before the wedding, Keith Dawson made another surprise visit to Serena's apartment. Ms. Thompson, he said when she opened the door. Final security check before tomorrow's event. I don't understand, Serena replied, blocking the doorway. Why would you need to check my apartment? Marcus wants to ensure there will be no disruptions at his wedding. Keith's eyes were cold. May I come in? No, I have nothing to hide, but I also have a right to privacy. Keith smiled without warmth. As you wish. Just remember, I'll be watching you tomorrow. Closely. After he left, Serena immediately called David. Keith just came by. He suspects something. Not necessarily, David reassured her. It might be standard intimidation. But we should assume they'll be watching you carefully tomorrow. On the morning of the wedding, Serena prepared methodically. She put on the navy blue dress that would be visible beneath her server uniform when the time came. David had modified it with hidden pockets containing multiple copies of key evidence on flash drives. The remote control for the projection system was disguised as a compact mirror in her purse. The recording device was sewn into a decorative element on her dress, virtually undetectable. David arrived at her apartment early, bringing the earpiece and performing one final equipment check. Everything is working, he confirmed. The team is ready. James and his friends are already at Roswell Manor setting up. Eleanor and her reporters will arrive as guests at 4. Agent Torres has positioned FBI agents in unmarked cars near the venue. Serena sat down, suddenly overwhelmed by what they were about to do. "What if it doesn't work?" she asked quietly. "What if Marcus manages to escape consequences again?" David sat beside her. "Serena, no matter what happens today, you've already won. You refused to be silenced. You gathered evidence that will eventually bring Marcus down, even if it doesn't happen exactly as we planned." Serena placed her hands on her belly, feeling her baby move. "I'm doing this for you," she whispered to her unborn child. At 3:45 in the afternoon, Serena got into her car and began the drive to Roswell Manor. The June day was sunny and clear, perfect weather for a wedding. As she drove, she reviewed the plan in her mind one final time. She would arrive and be given the server uniform as Marcus's form of humiliation. She would work the reception, observing and waiting for the perfect moment. When Marcus called attention to her presence, which they were certain he would do, she would be ready. The moment he publicly humiliated her would be the moment his carefully constructed world began to crumble. Roswell Manor came into view, an elegant stone building with perfectly manicured gardens. Cars were already lined up at the entrance, guests in expensive clothes and jewelry arriving for the social event of the season. Serena took a deep breath and drove toward the entrance. As she handed her keys to the valet, she caught sight of her reflection in the car window. Calm, determined, ready. The long months of gathering evidence, the stress of being watched, the physical challenges of her pregnancy, all of it had led to this moment. She was no longer just Marcus's discarded wife. She was the one person who could bring his criminal empire crashing down. She straightened her dress and walked toward the entrance where security guards checked guest lists. The first act of Marcus's final drama was about to begin. The security guard checked Serena's invitation carefully, his eyes moving between the gold-trimmed card and her face. "Miss Thompson?" he asked with a slight frown. "Yes," Serena replied calmly. The guard spoke quietly into his radio. "Guest at main entrance, Serena Thompson." A moment later, Rachel appeared as she had the day of Serena's humiliation. Today she wore a perfectly tailored black suit and a wireless earpiece. "Ms. Thompson," Rachel said with a professional smile, "Mr. Thompson asked that I personally escort you." "How thoughtful," Serena replied, keeping her voice neutral. Rachel led her through the grand entrance of Roswell Manor, past guests in expensive clothing who were being directed to the garden for the ceremony. Instead of following them, Rachel guided Serena down a side hallway. "The ceremony starts in 30 minutes, Rachel explained. "Mr. Thompson has arranged special accommodations for you." They stopped at a door marked "Staff Only." Rachel pushed it open to reveal a small room where servers were changing into uniforms. On a hook hung a pressed black and white server outfit with Serena's name on a tag. "Mr. Thompson thought you'd be more comfortable in a working role," Rachel said with a slight smirk. "Given your financial situation," Serena took a slow, deep breath. "I see. You'll be serving during the reception. Report to the kitchen after changing." Rachel checked her watch. "You have 5 minutes." After Rachel left, Serena changed quickly. As expected, the uniform barely fit over her pregnant belly. She carefully arranged her navy dress underneath so it would be ready when needed. The recording device remained hidden, and she discreetly checked that her earpiece was working. "Testing," she whispered. "I hear you." David's voice came through clearly. "Are you in position?" "Yes, server uniform as expected. Reporting to kitchen now." In the busy kitchen, staff rushed to prepare final touches for the reception. Serena spotted James immediately, arranging champagne flutes on trays. He gave her a subtle nod. "New girl," called the catering manager, a harried woman with a clipboard. "You're on champagne service for the main entrance. Guests will arrive from the ceremony in 20 minutes. Serena took her position by the doors that connected the garden to the ballroom. Through the windows, she could see hundreds of guests seated in white chairs. At the front stood an elaborate flower arch where Marcus waited in a black tuxedo. Music began to play as Jessica, in a stunning white gown, started her walk down the aisle. "All press in position," came Eleanor's voice through the earpiece. "Ben has accessed the projection system." "FBI agents confirmed nearby," David added. "Torres is waiting for our signal." The ceremony proceeded as Serena watched through the window. Marcus and Jessica exchanged vows, looking like the perfect couple. Only Serena noticed how Jessica's smile seemed forced, how she avoided Marcus's eyes during certain moments. When the ceremony ended, the guests began moving toward the reception. Serena picked up her champagne tray and stood ready by the doors. "Remember," David's voice came through her earpiece. "Stay calm. Follow the plan. Wait for Marcus to make his move." Guests streamed into the ballroom, many taking champagne from Serena's tray without really seeing her. The room filled quickly with Atlanta's elite, business leaders, politicians, celebrities. Serena recognized several judges, the police chief, even the mayor. Keith Dawson moved throughout the space, his eyes constantly scanning. When he spotted Serena, he walked over. "Playing your part well?" he said quietly as he took a champagne glass. "Marcus will be pleased." "Just doing my job," Serena replied evenly. "Make sure that's all you do," Keith warned before moving away. For the next hour, Serena circulated through the ballroom, serving drinks and observing. She spotted Eleanor and her reporters strategically positioned around the room. James and his friends worked efficiently, covering different sections of the space. Marcus moved from group to group, accepting congratulations, laughing at jokes, the perfect host. Jessica stayed close to his side, smiling politely but saying little. "Dinner is ending," David said through the earpiece. "Reception speeches will start soon. That's likely when Marcus will call you out." Serena nodded slightly, though no one could see the gesture. She refreshed her tray with champagne and positioned herself where Marcus would easily spot her. The dinner plates were cleared, and Marcus stood, tapping a knife against his crystal champagne flute. The room gradually quieted. "Friends, family, honored guests," Marcus began, his voice confident and warm. "Jessica and I want to thank you all for sharing this special day with us." Applause filled the room as Marcus continued with practiced charm, thanking specific guests, making jokes, praising his new wife. Then his eyes found Serena across the room. His smile changed slightly, becoming harder. "I also want to acknowledge someone else here tonight," he said, his voice carrying clearly through the ballroom. "My ex-wife, Serena." Heads turned, searching until they found Serena in her server's uniform, holding her tray of champagne. "As you can see," Marcus continued, "she's serving drinks tonight. A fitting position for someone who couldn't manage our household finances and now can't even manage on her own." Uncomfortable laughter rippled through the crowd. Jessica looked down at her plate, her cheeks flushing. "Let this be a lesson," Marcus said, his eyes fixed on Serena. "Actions have consequences." The room fell silent, many guests clearly uncomfortable with this public humiliation. "In fact," Marcus continued, seemingly encouraged by the discomfort he was creating, "I think it's time for a special toast. Serena, bring champagne for my wife and me." This was the moment they had prepared for. Serena felt a strange calm settle over her as she moved forward with her tray. "Ready when you are," David whispered through the earpiece. Serena walked slowly toward the head table where Marcus and Jessica sat with their closest family members. Every eye in the room followed her progress. When she was 10 feet from the table, Marcus stood again. "Everyone watch carefully," he announced. "My ex-wife is about to serve me champagne at my wedding. Isn't life wonderfully unpredictable?" More uncomfortable silence. Jessica whispered something to Marcus, but he ignored her. "Careful not to spill," Marcus said quietly as Serena approached. "Servants who make mistakes get fired." Serena stopped 3 feet from the table. She carefully set down the champagne tray on a nearby empty table. "What are you doing?" Marcus asked, his smile faltering slightly. Serena straightened up, looking directly into his eyes. With deliberate movements, she removed her server's jacket, revealing her navy dress underneath and the recording device pinned to it. "I'm not serving drinks today, Marcus," she said in a clear, strong voice that carried through the silent room. "I'm serving justice." Marcus's face froze, his smile disappearing. "What is this? Security!" From her dress pocket, Serena removed what looked like a compact mirror but was actually the remote control. She pressed a button, and instantly the projection screens around the ballroom changed from romantic wedding photos to financial documents, property records, and emails. "Thompson Estates isn't a real estate empire," Serena continued, her voice steady. "It's a criminal enterprise built on fraud, deception, and stolen money." Gasps filled the room as people began to recognize documents on the screens. Bank statements showing millions transferred to offshore accounts, emails from Marcus explicitly directing staff to mislead investors, photos of abandoned construction sites alongside promotional materials showing completed luxury homes. "Every screen shows evidence I've provided to federal authorities," Serena continued. "Marcus has stolen millions from investors. He's falsified environmental reports. He's built houses on contaminated land." Marcus lunged toward her. "Shut up. You have no idea what you're talking about." James stepped between them, blocking Marcus's path. "Don't touch her." The ballroom erupted in confusion. Some guests stood to get a better view of the screens. Others moved toward the exits. "This is all lies!" Marcus shouted, looking around desperately. "She's crazy! Pregnant and emotional. She's trying to ruin me because I left her." "Then explain these," Serena said calmly, pointing to the screens now showing Marcus's own emails. "Explain why you wrote, 'Keep the investors away from the actual construction sites. Show them the models only.'" Before Marcus could respond, Jessica stood up. The room quieted again, everyone watching. "She's right," Jessica said, her voice shaking. "I found documents in Marcus's office last month. Bank accounts I never knew about. Lists of properties that were supposed to be completed but weren't." Marcus turned to her, his face contorted with rage. "Shut up! You don't know what you're talking about." "When I confronted him," Jessica continued, removing her engagement ring, "he threatened to ruin my family if I said anything." The betrayal from his new wife sent Marcus into a complete rage. He grabbed a champagne bottle and threw it against the wall, shattering glass across the floor. "You're all going to regret this," he shouted. "I own half the judges in this room. I've paid for police chief's vacations. Nobody can touch me." His unintended confession echoed through the stunned ballroom. FBI agents appeared at the main doors, led by Agent Torres. "Marcus Thompson," she called clearly, "we have a warrant for your arrest on charges of wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and investor fraud." As agents moved toward him, Marcus looked wildly around the room, seeking allies. But his powerful friends were backing away, not meeting his eyes, unwilling to be associated with what they were seeing. Keith Dawson stepped forward, placing himself between Marcus and the FBI agents. "You'll need to go through me first." "Keith Dawson," Agent Torres responded immediately. "We also have a warrant for your arrest as an accomplice. Step aside." For a moment, the room held its breath as Keith seemed to consider his options. Then, surprising everyone, he moved away from Marcus. "You're on your own," Keith said to his former boss. "I was just following orders." As FBI agents led Marcus away in handcuffs, he continued to shout threats and denials. The wedding guests stood in shocked silence, watching Atlanta's most powerful real estate developer reduced to a desperate, angry man being read his rights. Serena remained calm, her hand resting protectively on her pregnant belly. David appeared at her side, along with Eleanor and her reporters who were already taking photos and recording everything. "It's done," David said quietly. "Not quite," Serena replied, watching as FBI agents began approaching specific guests, people they had identified as accomplices in Marcus's schemes. "This is just the beginning." Chaos erupted across Roswell Manor as FBI agents secured the building. Guests whispered in small groups, some quickly leaving to avoid being associated with the scandal. Others stayed, watching in shock as more arrests were made. Several business partners of Marcus were escorted outside in handcuffs. Serena sat down at a nearby table, suddenly aware of how tired she felt. The stress and excitement of the moment had temporarily masked the physical strain on her pregnant body. "Are you okay?" David asked, bringing her a glass of water. "Yes, just need to sit for a moment." Agent Torres approached, looking professional but pleased. "Mrs. Thompson, that was well executed. Your evidence created exactly the situation we needed." "Thank you for acting so quickly," Serena replied. "We've been building this case for weeks based on what you provided," Torres explained. "But we couldn't move without clear evidence that couldn't be explained away by expensive lawyers." Outside the ballroom windows, Serena could see Marcus being placed in a black FBI vehicle. He was still shouting, his face red with rage. "You'll regret this, Serena," he yelled when he spotted her watching. "This isn't over. I'll destroy you for this." Agent Torres shook her head. He's making it worse for himself with every threat. Eleanor Watts and her reporters were already working, interviewing shocked guests and taking statements from people who claimed they had suspicions about Thompson Estates. The Atlanta Journal-Constitution's website will have the story up within the hour. Eleanor told Serena, "We prepared most of it in advance." Front page tomorrow, Real Estate Empire Exposed as Fraud at Developer's Wedding. As the initial shock subsided, guests began approaching Serena. Some apologized for laughing during Marcus's humiliation attempt. Others shared stories of their own interactions with him that had left them uncomfortable. Jessica, still in her wedding dress, sat alone at a corner table. Serena walked over and sat beside her. "I'm sorry this happened on your wedding day," Serena said honestly. Jessica shook her head. "Don't be. You saved me from a much worse future." She twisted the wedding ring she had already removed. "I suspected something was wrong for months. I just didn't have the courage to act on it." "What will you do now?" "Go back to my parents' house for a while. Try to rebuild my life." Jessica looked at Serena's pregnant belly. "When is your baby due?" 3 weeks, Serena replied, placing a protective hand over her stomach. "I hope everything goes well for both of you." By 9 o'clock that evening, FBI agents had finished securing evidence from Marcus's office at Roswell Manor. David drove Serena home, both of them exhausted but relieved. "Get some rest," he advised as he walked her to her apartment door. "The next few days will be busy with statements and interviews." Serena nodded, too tired to speak. Inside her apartment, she changed into comfortable clothes and checked her phone. She already had 17 messages from reporters seeking comments. She turned off her phone and went to bed, falling into a deep sleep for the first time in months. The next morning, Serena woke to knocking at her door. It was David, holding several newspapers. "Your front page news," he said, spreading them across her kitchen table. Every major paper had the story. Headlines declared, "Thompson Estates exposed as fraud operation" and "Real estate mogul arrested at his own wedding." Photos showed Marcus being led away in handcuffs, the shocked wedding guests, and Serena standing calmly as she presented her evidence. "The FBI raided Thompson Estates offices at 6 this morning," David reported. "They're seizing computers, files, everything." Serena's phone rang constantly. She answered only calls from Agent Torres and her team members. By afternoon, she was scheduled to give a formal statement at the FBI field office in downtown Atlanta. "Just tell us everything you observed during your marriage," Agent Torres instructed as Serena sat in a conference room with 2 other agents and a prosecutor. "Specific conversations, documents you saw, unusual financial activity." For 3 hours, Serena provided detailed testimony, explaining how Marcus had operated his business and the red flags she had noticed over time. He was always careful to maintain a separation between what investors saw and what was actually happening, she explained. The model homes were beautiful, perfect in every detail, but they were often the only completed structures in developments marketed as thriving communities. When she finished, the prosecutor, a serious woman named Patricia Winters, nodded with satisfaction. "This helps tremendously. Combined with the documents you provided and what we seized today, we have a very strong case." "What happens now?" Serena asked. "Thompson will have his initial hearing tomorrow. We're recommending no bail given the flight risk and the seriousness of the charges." That evening, the stress of the day caught up with Serena. She experienced sharp pains that sent her to the emergency room. "Your blood pressure is dangerously high," Dr. Peterson told her after an examination. "The baby is showing signs of distress. I want you on bed rest until delivery. But I have to give more statements. Help with the investigation." "No, you don't," the doctor said firmly. "Not if you want to protect your baby. Everything else can wait." Serena reluctantly agreed. David arranged for her to give additional statements from her apartment, with FBI agents coming to her instead of the other way around. 3 days after the wedding, Marcus was released on bail despite the prosecutor's objections. A judge set the amount at $5 million, which Marcus paid immediately. He was placed under house arrest with an ankle monitor and ordered to surrender his passport. His lawyer, Robert Blackwell, immediately launched a public relations campaign, appearing on local news shows to defend his client. "Marcus Thompson is an innocent man being persecuted by a vengeful ex-wife," Blackwell told reporters outside the courthouse. "Mrs. Thompson, bitter about their divorce and emotional due to her pregnancy, has fabricated these allegations to destroy my client." Serena watched these statements from her bed, trying not to let them upset her. "It's just legal maneuvering," David reassured her during a visit. "The evidence speaks for itself. His lawyer is just trying to create reasonable doubt." A week after the wedding, Jessica came to visit Serena. She looked different, younger without her perfect makeup, dressed in simple jeans and a t-shirt. "I brought you these," she said, handing Serena a USB drive and a folder of documents. "I took them from Marcus's home office before I moved out. Bank statements, correspondence with offshore accounts, and a list of properties with their actual status versus what was told to investors." "Thank you," Serena said, genuinely grateful. "This will help the case." "I should thank you," Jessica replied. "You saved me from a terrible mistake." She hesitated before adding, "His lawyers contacted me. They offered money if I would testify that you seemed unstable and obsessed with Marcus. I told them no." After Jessica left, Serena called Agent Torres to hand over the new evidence. The impact of Serena's exposure continued to grow. Former Thompson Estates employees, contractors, and investors came forward with their own stories. People who had lost money or been threatened by Marcus found courage in seeing him finally facing consequences. Tom Fallon, the electrical contractor who had worked with James Wilson, organized a group of unpaid subcontractors to file their own lawsuit against Thompson Estates. "He owes us over $2 million for work we completed," Tom told a local business reporter. "We're small business owners with families to support. Some nearly went bankrupt waiting for payment that never came." 2 weeks after the wedding, as Serena entered her final days of pregnancy, the stress took its toll again. She woke in the middle of the night with severe pain and called David in panic. "I think the baby's coming," she gasped. "It's too early." David rushed to her apartment and drove her to the hospital. In the car, another pain hit, stronger than before. "It hurts so much," she whispered, her face pale. "Something feels wrong." "We're almost there," David promised, driving as fast as safely possible. "Just hold on." At the hospital, doctors quickly took Serena to the maternity ward. Her blood pressure was dangerously high, and monitors showed the baby was in distress. "We need to perform an emergency C-section," Dr. Peterson explained. "The baby needs to come out now." As they prepared Serena for surgery, she grabbed David's hand. "If anything happens to me, promise you'll make sure Marcus pays for everything he's done. Don't let him get away with it." "Nothing is going to happen to you," David insisted. "But I promise." We'll see this through to the end. The medical team wheeled Serena into the operating room. David waited outside, pacing nervously, making calls to update their team. An hour later, Dr. Peterson emerged, looking tired but smiling. "You have a healthy baby girl," she told David. 6 pounds, 3 ounces. Small but strong. And Serena is doing well. Just exhausted. When Serena woke in the recovery room, a nurse placed her newborn daughter in her arms. Looking down at the tiny face, Serena felt tears of joy and relief. "Hello, Hope," she whispered, using the name she had chosen months ago. "You're finally here." As she held her daughter, Serena's phone buzzed with a news alert. She asked David to check it. "Marcus Thompson has been indicted on 27 counts of wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and investor fraud," he read aloud, smiling. "His assets have been frozen pending trial." Serena looked down at her baby girl. "We did it, Hope. We're going to be okay." 3 days after Hope's birth, Serena was finally able to bring her daughter home to her small apartment. David had helped prepare everything, setting up the crib and making sure the kitchen was stocked with food. "Thank you for everything," Serena said, as she carefully placed sleeping Hope in her new crib. "I don't know how I would have managed without you." "That's what friends are for," David replied, keeping his voice low. "Plus, I've become quite invested in bringing Marcus down." As Serena settled into motherhood, the case against Marcus Thompson continued to build. FBI agents visited her apartment to gather additional testimony, working around her schedule as a new mother. "We've frozen 17 different accounts linked to Thompson," Agent Torres explained during one visit, watching as Serena gently rocked Hope. "The total amount exceeds $45 million. "What about the investors who lost money?" Serena asked. "The court has appointed a receiver to manage Thompson Estate's assets. They're trying to determine what can be salvaged to repay victims." Across town, Marcus remained under house arrest in his mansion. His legal team worked overtime, filing motions to dismiss charges and attacking Serena's credibility in the press. "My client is the victim of a conspiracy," Robert Blackwell told reporters outside the courthouse after a preliminary hearing. "A vindictive ex-wife manipulated evidence to frame an innocent man." These attacks took a toll on Serena, who was already exhausted from caring for a newborn. One morning, she turned on the television to see Marcus himself on a morning news program, speaking via video from his home. "Serena always resented my success," he claimed, looking somber and reasonable. "When I asked for a divorce, she threatened to make me pay. This is simply her revenge." Serena turned off the TV, her hands shaking. "He's still lying." "After everything, he's still lying." David arrived an hour later for their regular check-in. "I saw the interview," he said grimly. "His PR team is working hard to reshape the narrative." "Will people believe him?" Serena asked, bouncing Hope gently as she fussed. "Some might, but the evidence is overwhelming. His words can't change bank records and falsified documents." Later that day, Patricia Winters, the prosecutor, called Serena. "We need to prepare you for what's coming," she warned. "Thompson's defense team has filed motions to exclude most of your evidence, claiming it was obtained illegally." "But we had those server codes legally from Lisa Parker," Serena protested. "I know, we'll fight it. But you should know they're also building a case that you stole financial documents during your marriage, which they'll claim invalidates anything you found." The legal battles intensified over the following days. Thompson Estates offices remained closed, sealed with evidence tape. Former employees gathered outside, worried about lost jobs and unpaid wages. Eleanor Watts continued her reporting, publishing daily updates on the case. Her most impactful article featured interviews with 27 families who had lost their life savings investing in Thompson Estates projects. "We sold our previous home and invested everything in what Marcus Thompson promised would be our dream retirement community," said Robert Jenkins, a 72-year-old retired teacher. "Now we have nothing. We're living with our daughter's family." 1 week after Hope's birth, Serena received an unexpected visitor. Lisa Parker arrived with a small gift for the baby and important news. The IT department has been cooperating with the FBI, Lisa explained, holding Hope while Serena made tea. They've recovered deleted emails showing Marcus explicitly ordered staff to create fake progress reports for investors. That should help the case, Serena said, sitting down heavily. She was still recovering from her C-section, moving carefully and tiring easily. There's something else, Lisa continued. I've been contacted by other employees who want to come forward but are scared. Marcus made everyone sign strict non-disclosure agreements. The prosecutor might be able to help with that, Serena suggested. Witness protection or immunity deals. That afternoon, David brought more news during his visit. Thompson Estates is officially in receivership, he explained. The court appointed a management team to assess all assets and liabilities. What does that mean exactly? It means they'll try to complete viable projects to recover value for investors and creditors. They'll sell off assets, pay back as many people as possible. David hesitated before continuing. They've also requested your help, Serena, as a consultant. My help? Why? Because you know more about the real status of projects than almost anyone. You've been tracking them for months. Plus, you have a business degree that Marcus always dismissed. Serena looked down at Hope, sleeping peacefully in her arms. I don't know if I can handle that right now. They're willing to work around your schedule. You could work from home most days. The pay is good, something to consider with a new baby. The idea of using her knowledge to help undo some of Marcus's damage was appealing. After thinking it over, Serena agreed to meet with the receivership team. 2 days later, Michael Reynolds, the lead manager from the receivership firm, visited Serena's apartment. We have a massive challenge, Michael explained, spreading maps and documents across Serena's kitchen table while she held Hope. Thompson Estates has over 30 developments in various stages. Some are nearly complete, others barely started despite being fully funded. The Lakeside Estates in Tennessee is probably the furthest along, Serena pointed out. Marcus used it as a showcase for investors. Exactly. We believe with proper management, about 12 projects could be completed and provide some return to investors. The others might need to be sold, as is. Michael outlined their proposal. Serena would work as a consultant, 20 hours per week initially, mostly from home. Her knowledge of the projects and Marcus's operations would help them prioritize resources. We can pay $75 per hour, Michael finished. With your expertise, you'd be invaluable to our team. The offer was generous. It would provide financial security for Serena and Hope while allowing her to help Marcus's victims. She accepted. As Serena began her consulting work, the case against Marcus faced its first major challenge. His defense team filed a motion claiming all evidence obtained through Thompson Estates servers was inadmissible because the access codes had been provided by a former employee without corporate authorization. Judge William Harmon, presiding over the case, called a hearing to consider the motion. Serena attended, leaving Hope with David for the 3 hours. Inside the courtroom, Marcus sat with his legal team, wearing an expensive suit and a practiced expression of dignified suffering. When he saw Serena enter, his calm facade briefly slipped, revealing a flash of hatred. Robert Blackwell argued passionately that Mrs. Thompson and her accomplices had essentially hacked into private corporate systems. The evidence was obtained illegally, he insisted. It's fruit of the poisonous tree and cannot be admitted. The prosecutor countered that Lisa Parker had legitimate access to the codes as part of her job, and that whistleblower protections applied. Judge Harmon considered both arguments before ruling. While the manner of obtaining the server access may be questionable, the overwhelming public interest in these potential crimes outweighs exclusionary concerns. The motion is denied. Marcus's face darkened with anger as Blackwell quickly whispered to him, urging calm. Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Serena. How does it feel to see your evidence accepted by the court? One asked. I'm just grateful the truth is coming to light, Serena replied carefully. This case is about helping the people who lost everything to Thompson Estates. As she walked to her car, Serena noticed a black SUV with tinted windows parked nearby. Though she couldn't see the driver, she felt certain Keith Dawson or one of his team was watching. Despite his ankle monitor and house arrest, Marcus still had resources and connections. Serena realized the fight was far from over. That evening, as she fed Hope in the quiet of her apartment, Serena's phone rang with an unknown number. "Hello?" She answered cautiously. "Mrs. Thompson." The voice was unfamiliar, male, professional. "I represent a group of Thompson Estates investors. We've been following your case with interest." "What do you want?" Serena asked, suddenly wary. "To thank you, first of all, and to discuss a proposal. We believe there may be a way to recover more of our investments while also building something positive from this mess." "I'm listening." "We want to create a new company, one that would complete selected Thompson projects ethically and transparently. With your knowledge and our capital, we could potentially save some developments and help families who lost deposits." "Why are you calling me about this?" "Because we need someone who understands both the business and what went wrong. Someone with integrity who the victims would trust." As the caller outlined their vision, Serena looked down at Hope sleeping in her arms. The idea of creating something honest from the ruins of Marcus's fraud was powerful. It could provide a future for her and her daughter while helping others rebuild as well. "Send me a proposal in writing," Serena finally said. "I'll consider it." After hanging up, Serena felt a strange sense of possibility. Marcus had tried to destroy her, but in doing so he had created an opportunity she would never have had otherwise. The detailed proposal arrived in Serena's email the next morning. A group of 5 ethical investors, led by a businessman named Richard Coleman, wanted to create a new company that would complete selected Thompson Estates projects. They needed Serena's knowledge and reputation for integrity to make it work. 3 weeks later, as Hope turned 1 month old, Serena attended Marcus's sentencing hearing. The courtroom was packed with victims, reporters, and curious onlookers. David sat beside her, ready to take Hope if she became fussy. Marcus sat at the defense table in an expensive suit, somehow looking both confident and wounded. His attorney had advised him to appear remorseful, but the anger in his eyes when he glanced at Serena revealed his true feelings. Judge William Harmon entered and everyone stood. "Please be seated," he said. "We're here for sentencing in the case of United States versus Marcus Thompson." The prosecutor, Patricia Winters, spoke first, outlining the 27 counts on which Marcus had been convicted: wire fraud, money laundering, tax evasion, and investor fraud. "Your Honor, the defendant's actions destroyed hundreds of lives," Patricia said. "Families lost their life savings. Small businesses went bankrupt when he failed to pay them. He showed no remorse, continuing his scheme until the very day of his arrest." Judge Harmon nodded. "Does the defendant wish to make a statement before sentencing?" Marcus stood slowly, his lawyer whispering something in his ear. "Your Honor," Marcus began, his voice carefully controlled, "I maintain that many of these charges result from misunderstandings of complex business operations. However, I recognize that people were hurt, and for that, I am sorry." The judge looked unimpressed. "Mr. Thompson, you were caught on video at your wedding threatening people who had helped expose your crimes. You said, and I quote, 'I own half the judges in this room. I've paid for police chiefs' vacations. Nobody can touch me.' Does that sound like someone who misunderstood business operations?" Marcus had no answer. "Before I announce your sentence," the judge continued, "I want to address something specific. Your attempt to publicly humiliate the mother of your child at your wedding shows a profound character flaw. You used your power to try to crush someone you should have protected. That tells me everything I need to know about you." He paused, looking directly at Marcus. "Marcus Thompson, I sentence you to 18 years in federal prison, to be followed by 10 years of supervised release. You will make restitution to your victims in the amount of $43 million. All your assets will remain frozen until that restitution is paid." Gasps and murmurs filled the courtroom. Marcus's face drained of color as the reality of his situation finally seemed to hit him. As Marcus was led away in handcuffs, he stopped beside Serena's seat. "This isn't over," he whispered. "Yes, it is," she replied calmly, looking him in the eyes. "Goodbye, Marcus." Outside the courthouse, reporters surrounded Serena. "How do you feel about the sentence?" one asked. "Justice was served," Serena replied, adjusting Hope in her arms. "But this was never about punishment. It was about helping the victims rebuild their lives. That's what matters now." But later that day, Serena met with Richard Coleman and his investment group at their downtown office. Lisa Parker joined them, having become an important ally in understanding Thompson Estates' operations. "The sentencing changes things," Richard said. "With Thompson's assets frozen and his sentence confirmed, the court will be looking for ways to maximize recovery for victims." "I've been thinking about that," Serena said. "What if we create not just a company, but a restitution fund? Something specifically designed to help Thompson's victims." Over the next 4 hours, they outlined a plan for what would become the Thompson Victim Restitution Fund. Using Serena's portion of the recovered assets and with help from ethical investors, they would create a legitimate company that completed abandoned Thompson projects. "We can provide homes to families who lost their deposits," Serena explained, sketching a structure on a whiteboard, "and jobs to hundreds of construction workers who were never paid." "I like it," Richard said, "but we need someone with your knowledge to lead it." "Me?" Serena asked, surprised. "Yes, you. You understand these projects better than anyone. Plus, your name represents integrity in this situation." Serena looked down at Hope, sleeping in her carrier. "I'd need flexibility. My daughter comes first." "Of course," Richard assured her. "We can build the company around your needs." 6 months later, Horizon Homes was officially launched. With Serena as Chief Executive Officer and Lisa Parker as Chief Operating Officer, the company began work on completing 3 of Thompson's most viable projects. David Chen joined as head of the compliance department, ensuring the company operated with complete transparency. "Every investor will have access to real-time updates on construction progress," David explained during their first board meeting. "Every dollar will be tracked and accounted for. We'll be the opposite of how Thompson operated." The first project they tackled was Lakeside Estates in Tennessee, which had model homes but little else completed despite being fully funded. "We have 87 families who paid deposits here," Serena told the construction team during their first site visit. "Our goal is to deliver what they were promised." The work was challenging. Many subcontractors were hesitant to return after being burned by Marcus. Serena personally met with each one, explaining the new company structure and guaranteeing payment. "I know Marcus hurt you," she told Tom Fallon, the electrical contractor. "But we're different. We have money in escrow specifically for your invoices." Slowly, trust was rebuilt. Construction resumed. Families who had given up hope began to believe again. 1 year after Hope's birth, Emory University Business School invited Serena to speak about corporate fraud and ethical leadership. Standing at the podium, looking at hundreds of business students, she felt a responsibility to share what she had learned. "Success built on deception eventually collapses," she told them, "but success built on integrity grows stronger with each challenge." The story of Thompson Estates became a case study at the university, taught to warn future business leaders about the consequences of fraud. "The most important lesson," Serena explained to a reporter covering the case study, "is that people matter more than profits. Every decision we make affects real lives." As Hope's second birthday approached, Horizon Homes prepared for a major milestone: the completion of Lakeside Estates. What Marcus had promised but never delivered was finally becoming reality. On a sunny Saturday morning, Serena stood before a crowd of families, contractors, and media. With Hope on her hip and her team beside her, she addressed the gathered crowd. "2 years ago, many of you thought you had lost everything," she said. "Today, we're keeping the promise that should have been kept all along." One by one, Serena handed keys to families who had almost lost everything to Marcus's fraud. Tears flowed freely as people realized they would finally have the homes they had paid for years earlier. Robert and Marie Jenkins, the retired teachers who had lost their life savings, were the first to receive keys to their new home. "We never thought this day would come," Marie said, hugging Serena. "You gave us our retirement back." Lisa Parker, standing nearby, wiped away tears. "This is what success really looks like," she said quietly. David Chen nodded in agreement. Not just buildings, changed lives. After the ceremony, as families toured their new homes, a reporter asked Serena how it felt to transform Marcus's failure into something positive. "This isn't about me," Serena replied, watching Hope play with other children on the new community playground. "It's about showing that when people work together with integrity, good things happen." To date, the Thompson Victim Restitution Fund had recovered nearly 60% of investor losses. Horizon Homes had completed 2 developments and started work on 3 more. Over 300 jobs had been created, many filled by people Marcus had previously cheated. Marcus Thompson remained in federal prison, his appeals repeatedly denied. His empire had crumbled, but something better had risen in its place. That evening, after the celebration, Serena sat on the porch of the Lakeside Estates Community Center with Hope on her lap. The sunset reflected on the lake, creating a peaceful end to a momentous day. "Mama built houses," Hope said in her simple toddler language, pointing at the new homes. "Yes, sweetie," Serena replied, hugging her daughter close. "But more importantly, Mama helped build a community." As darkness fell, lights came on in homes around the lake, families settling into spaces that represented not just shelter, but justice. What began as one woman's stand against corruption had become a powerful reminder that wealth and connections can't forever shield wrongdoing, and that sometimes the person deemed powerless holds the greatest power, the courage to stand for truth. If you enjoyed today's video, I'm sure you'll love the next one. Don't waste time. Just click on the screen.